Hello and welcome to Pompey Talk in partnership with Jan Leap. My name is Mark McMahon and join me in the studio today to discuss Pompey's 2-2 draw with Plymouth is new sports writer Jordan Cross. Jordy, a disappointing result at the end given their late equaliser, but a good point away from home at the end of the day as well.
I was speaking to Cole Bennett yesterday and it was a bit like speaking to him after reflecting on the dust settling from the game and the 4 points from the 2 away game you'd be pleased with. It's just the context, isn't it? The way it unfolded and it being Plymouth and the drama and the rivalry between the sides that Pompey thought they had the win in the bag with the 87th minute goal and then having it taken from them. But Paul Cook was quite upbeat afterwards. He obviously came out and presented himself to us and in an upbeat mood, having such a deflated dressing room, really, wasn't it? He was talking about that, but he was trying to lift the troops because they were disappointed. But on reflection, Pompey will say, and they have said, the players that I've spoken to, that they think they sent a message out to Plymouth and perhaps even the rest of the division that they showed that they were the better side. Plymouth are well organised and deserve to be where they be. But if both teams were to hit their straps, probably Pompey the heavier hitter out of the two. But just the inconsistencies that undo them, and I mean it was if it was good and bad about Pompey in that 90 minutes as well. In terms of the late goal and the way that the goals were conceded.
Well, you hate picking out faults in the performance, but can you criticise Pompey for not holding on, especially when Danny Rose scored that there marvellous goal with only minutes on the clock remaining?
I can criticise Pompey. I mean, overwhelmingly it was positive what they did and the way they played, but it's the familiar thing of giving away goals from set pieces. I think it was kind of 6 or 7 90th minute goals last season, and it was kind of poetic in the end that it was a 90th minute goal from a set piece that undid them in the playoffs. And then we go back to Plymouth, and again it was a late goal, and the first goal being from a set piece. So Paul Cook said that's us, that's us in a nutshell, and he's almost that is what Pompey do. This Pompey of his tends to do, which is frustrating. They need to eradicate the inconsistencies if they're going to go places and sort themselves out from set pieces.
You spoke to Kyle Bennett, you also spoke to Danny Rose after his fantastic goal.
Yeah.
In today's back page, he's mentioned a few of the referees' decisions. Has he
Yeah.
got a point there?
Not with the first one, the kind of Chaplin penalty appeal.
Yeah.
Not for me. It was kind of rather similar to the Kyle Bennett booking last week. Chaplin got booked, obviously, for simulation.
Yeah.
Diving in most people's books. And for me, I think there were, a lot of the players were saying it was a good penalty appeal, but from you haven't seen it back really. But on my inspection, I thought it was a good decision from the referee.
Yeah.
There was a decent appeal for a push in the back for Chaplin, which kind of no one really picked up on. It was a good penalty appeal that from Bolvitis. You seen them giving, even the guys, in the Plymouth guys in the press box were saying, well, that looked like a penalty. And Pompey were referenced a foul by Gary Roberts, or on Gary Roberts in the build-up to the leveler.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see it.
I didn't see it myself there, so I was hoping you made the
so I can't shed much light on it. Very professional. But I didn't catch up on it. Everyone was harping on about it. Paul Cook mentioned it, and we were all the journalists were looking at each other. I didn't really notice that. So, but Pompey were at a conviction. It was a decent appeal. So they feel hard done by that. On the balance of play, Pompey had the better of it. I mean, the fact that they had 14 shots to Plymouth 7 or 8, I think it was, that kind of indicative of Pompey having the better of it. Plymouth were in the game, and first 20 minutes, typical Pompey. It was almost Groundhog Day of Blackpool. Got into the ascendancy, then undone themselves from a set piece. Then they creaked a bit, looked like they were going to concede a second as Plymouth got the ball into box from frozen corners and made it uncomfortable.
They were on the ropes at that stage.
They were really, weren't they? And then Pompey got back into the game, and I thought they were stronger across the second half, which didn't quite match the intensity of the first, I would say. I would add that. But Pompey having the better of it, and probably, if it was a points decision in boxing, Pompey would have probably won on points.
Yeah. Attacking-wise, I thought Pompey were excellent. Kyle Bennett and Connor Chaplin in particular, they just seemed a constant threat.
Yeah.
Connor Chaplin was skinning. I think it was
Bolvitis,
wasn't it? Yeah, down
time
there.
and again.
Yeah, so going forward, Pompey did look excellent.
Yeah, I mean, the much maligned Cole Bennett, he's come back into the team now and had 2 good games up at Orient. I thought he was excellent and received an ovation when he came off, and quite right. I don't know who Neil Allen gave man of the match to, but I would have given it.
Was Kyle?
Yeah, deservedly so, I would say. But interestingly now, Connor Chaplin seems to be kind of nailing down that spot. He was a thorn in Plymouth's side. He looked the part. Was given Volvitas to run around. Probably should have been a bit more clinical, perhaps. There was a couple of chances. You'd like to see him sort of work the goal, get them on target. But you just like the look of Pompey with Chaplin in his side. And as much as early in the season when Curtis Main came in, he looked like he was an improvement from Michael Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Now Connor looks like an improvement from Curtis Main, but that's just on current form. And Curtis Main obviously believes, and Paul Cook believes he's got a lot to offer. But just I think Connor's really kind of getting himself down there and deserving that place and the adulation that he gets from the Pompey fans.
Well, on the touchline, there was no love lost between Paul Cook and Derek Adams, with the Plymouth boss having a dig at Paul Cook for his touchline antics as well.
Yeah, he didn't mess around afterwards, did he? It was quite amusing, actually. I referenced it. Obviously, the rivalry between them. We've got this dockyard derby business that goes on, but for me, it's a modern rivalry. And at the heart of it is the friction between the two managers.
Yeah.
They don't like each other. But there was a comical moment where we were waiting for the managers to do press, and the manager's office for Plymouth besides in a ramshackle sort of hut outside the stand, they almost walked into each other. And they had to kind of like move away, and they kind of had to blank each other. There was no recognition between them, but they almost sort of head-on collision, and then they had to cross each other's paths as well after the press conference, and they kind of head down and just kind of bundle past without actually a word spoken between them. They don't like each other, and it goes back to obviously the genesis is in the Ruben Reid business. That Paul Cook felt he was frustrated that he couldn't speak to Derek Adams, or had the courtesy to return phone calls to that, and then went public, and then. Well, then it's just built, and then obviously the games, and add some fuel to that. Having said that, they're very there's respect there in terms of certainly from Paul Cook to what Derek Adams has achieved and is achieving as well this season. He won't mess around, and he'll take his personal feelings out of it in his assessment that Plymouth are doing very well and deserve a heck of a lot of credit for what they've done so far this term.
Okay, well, Pompey slipped. Despite the draw, Pompey slipped to 5th in the table.
Yeah.
Will they be looking over their shoulders, because there's a lot of teams below them,
Tight,
18, 19, 20 points there?
Yeah. There's I'm looking at a loss at the weekend and what that could have done to Pompey. They could have almost dropped down into mid-table. But I'm looking that way, and it's kind of now the concern for me is the gap. I think it's like 4 points to 3rd place. So you don't want to let that gap become any bigger. So that's a kind of a black mark off the back of the weekend. The fact that it was a positive, all things considered, you kind of now want to sort of capitalise on that. And the context of that result will be seen in the next one. If Pompey get a victory this weekend against Notts County, that looks like a good point at Plymouth, because the gap with the teams above. So it's starting to form now and take some shape with the table. And I think it looks how it is how it will probably be further down the line. You might see the likes of Morecambe drop off, whether Carlisle might stay in and around there, or maybe more playoff team. I'm not quite sure. Luton might come back into their strong side, but the shape of it, you'd think the runners and riders now there, and they're there for the duration.
Do you think, on the basis of that performance against the league leaders, bearing in mind they had 9 wins and 1 draw from their last 10, that Pompey are serious title contenders this year? They just haven't hit the form, but they will be there to come the end of the season.
Pompey, for me, are the best team on their day. There's no one that can touch them, but they've got to solve this inconsistency issue, and that's going to be what hurts them further down the line, because, as I say, Plymouth, workmanlike, good at set pieces, organised, they are what they are, but they go and eke out results. Pompey, it's like a kind of a classy Sugar Ray Leonard boxer. Pompey, they've got all the frills, but they're open to getting caught by shots and getting caught cold, whereas Plymouth are the kind of durable, sort of solid boxer, come forward man, and strong, rugged type, and hard to turn over, and that boxer seems to be coming out on top, and at the moment. So Pompey have got to get some consistency going, and hopefully if they do that, they can come out top.
Okay, well, thanks for your thoughts again, Jordan.
Cheers.
You'll be watching Pompey Talk in partnership with Jan Leap. We'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.